Okay, let's try this again. I did one a little while ago and I didn't like it. It wasn't good. Okay, so you care. So hi, it's Pat again, and I'm going to talk about a different, an actual game this time. And so what I've got here is Rumbleslam. It is the game of fantasy wrestling. The game of fantasy wrestling by TT Combat. It's a fine bunch of fellas in the UK. It's an interesting game. It's like a lot of fun. But let's see what it's all about. Okay, let's pull the sleeve off of there and show you what we got going on here. All right. First things first. Here's the rule book. It's not. You can see it is not a huge rule book. It's not a super complicated game. It's pretty easy. Well, not pretty easy. It's easy to pick up the basics, but it definitely has some tactical thinking in it. Mine, a couple. If you do get it, a couple of the pages in the very front are wanting to come out. So just be careful with it. Here is the play surface that it comes with. This is your ring. It's the mouse pad type material. You can see it's got the ropes, the turnbuckles, and it's you can't. I don't know if you can see it on here, but it's divided up into squares. And they actually have several, I think 2 different ones on the website that you can order in addition to this one, as well as an MDF ring, which I'm definitely getting. It's on order. It's just hasn't gotten here yet. I also got a bag full of tokens, the acrylic tokens. You can't see that. Why am I holding that up? That's clear. Here you go. Here's one you can see. Boom. Little acrylic tokens, just for different status effects and stuff like that in the game. And then you've got a bag full of dice, which do different stuff. You've got your crowd dice, okay, that say boo and cheer, and those are for different effects in the game. You've got gold dice, okay. You got silver dice, and then you've got copper dice. And all of them have, all the gold, silver, and copper all have little fists on them. And those are for different roles that you do make during the game with your different abilities and combat and stuff like that. And and obviously it goes gold, silver, copper, in order of which ones are the best to the worst. Because all the dice rolls are, well, not all the dice rolls, but anything you do to another character is a lot of opposed dice rolls. So obviously you want to get the most fists when you roll. The only thing that I've heard about the dice, the only negative I've heard about them, is these are not engraved, so they're printed on there. And I've heard people have a problem with the fists rubbing off. But a temporary measure is to spray them with some matte varnish, and that will keep them from rubbing off. They know about the problem, and they're working on getting some engraved dice. They just have to, I guess, finish up whatever process that is involved, which I'm sure is how much is it going to cost, and what's the cost going to be to you. And then it comes with, let's see, some little cards here. These are cool. These list your basic actions. Just the things that every wrestler can do, and then the back has wrestler abilities, as well as has a little description of what those are. You have these things here, beat downs, for when you just have a brawl type attack. So you just walk up. Depending on how well you do, you can have different effects on your opponent. But if your opponent rolls higher than you, it's a reversal, which can negatively impact the attacker. And then also each wrestler has a card, which we'll look at in a minute in a little more detail. This card front and back. But there's also, the game comes with two teams: the Heavy Pounders, I know, and the Green Bruisers. Now the Heavy Pounders are your more your human type team, although they're not all human. But here's one of them. I kind of went a little Kurt Angle with him because he looks like he's wearing a unitard and he's bald headed. So, why not? And then there's this guy that I just kind of did my own thing with, but I have seen other people paint him up, give him sort of a Razor Ramon kind of look, and those look really cool. And here's my ogre. I didn't do quite as much on him as some other people I've seen, but he's may or may not be painted to look like sort of Stone Cold. And then here's the last two members of that team, the Halflings. And this is just, I don't know what I was going to say, so never mind. And then you got the Green Bruisers. Here's the first guy on the team, Troll. I know, yeah, he's not green, okay? He's a troll. Deal with it. He's orange because I wanted to. And here's your two orcs. And they are ready to cause some trouble, as orcs will do. And then you've got, these are your two goblins that are on the team. Now, a lot of these guys, when like the team players like that, they're generic. They don't really have names. But they have superstars, and the superstars all have names. This is Ronnie Salvage, who is definitely the Macho Man as a dwarf. And how cool is that? Because Macho Man is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And then here is a bulldog. A British bulldog, if you will. Because he was, I saw him. I had to have him too. He's cool. Now, where's the card? Okay. Take a little bit of a look at the card, okay? You've got their 4 attributes. Every wrestler has 4 attributes: attack, defense, grapple, and dexterity. And then it tells you what dice go with each one of those and how many you get to roll for the different things. And I just realized I was super close to the camera. And then you've got their weight class, which does have effects on different things they do in the game, how popular they are, and I'm not going to lie, I forget what throw means. I know that's bad. This right here is their stamina, which we all know what stamina means. This is action points. Everything costs an action point. Whatever you want to do in the game takes action points. And some things can happen to either give you extra or take away action points. And then there's his movement, which shows he can move 4 squares in the game in any direction. And you can actually move past another opposing wrestler without having to worry about getting tied up. I know in a lot of other games you can't do that. And then this is the symbol for his casino. There's 5 casinos in the game, and most of the wrestlers are associated with one casino or another. There's a few free agents. But if you just want to build your own team, you can build any wrestlers you want to from any teams to put them all together. But if they stick with the same casino, then you get bonuses to your build. And this is kind of a list of his special abilities. And on the back, it tells you a little bit more about his abilities and his crowd pleaser. So there's that. And the miniatures, by the way, I'm going to talk about this. The miniatures are all resin, and they come with clear bases. If you've never worked with resin before, just make sure that before you glue them together or anything, wash them in warm, soapy water to make sure there's no mold release agent on there. Because if you don't, that mold release agent can stick, and it'll keep the paint from sticking to your miniature, and that's bad. And they all come with clear bases. And I was worried about the bases like frosting up, which will happen sometimes with super glue, but I haven't had too much of an issue with it. So, that's not, so that turned to be not too much of a big deal. They have a bunch of other wrestlers on their website, Yeah, so you can check them out. Their website, by the way, is ttcombat.com, or just Google Rumbleslam, and you'll pull it up. There's all kinds of different stuff that they can do. They have different abilities. You can actually, a lot of them have, you get your turnbuckles here. Some of the guys can climb up on top of the turnbuckles, and they have special moves they can do off of the turnbuckles. There are rope moves when you can actually intentionally bounce off the rope to pull a rope move, or you can throw someone into the ropes, and so they'll suffer the consequences of that. If you have yourself positioned right, you can use one guy to throw someone into the ropes, and he'll bounce off in a direction towards another guy, and when he gets to that other guy, then he gets hit again. So if so as with indie games, it's gonna be a matter of positioning and just knowing where your wrestlers are and what they can and can't do. So that's gonna be really interesting. They have a lot of plans for the game. It looks like they're very supportive of it. There's no forum for it yet that I've seen, but they are on Facebook. Now, there's actually a Rumbleslam fan page on Facebook, and the guys from TT Combat who created the game are involved on the page, and they seem to really be active with the community and talking and just appear to be super happy that everyone's so excited about the game. Like I said, there's an MDF ring that I can't wait to get, and I think that I covered everything I wanted to cover this time. I wrote it down, but that doesn't mean that that I didn't forget. I didn't say anything about the little crowd dice. They had the boos and the cheers on them, and at different times in the game, you'll roll the crowd dice, and depending on how they come up, they could be good or bad for your wrestler. And some wrestlers react differently to a boo or a cheer. Like a heel may react favorably to a boo, but that's just wrestling, man. That's wrestling. So that's about all I can think of to say. If anybody really is interested when I get the MDF ring in, I'll talk about it, and I'll do something once I build it. And I'm looking forward to having some of my buddies come over. We're gonna do like a Royal Rumble kind of thing. We all just take control of a bunch of wrestlers and have them all pile into the ring, one after the other, and just see what happens. This is kind of what I would call is kind of like a beer and pretzels game. You can just get some friends together and just kind of have a good time, and just go nuts with it. So that's I'm pretty sure that's it this time. So if you have any comments, any questions, anything for me, or you just want to tell me how awesome you thought this was, you can put your comments down below. And thanks for your support, and thanks for tuning in. This is a lot of fun. One day maybe I'll actually get a better camera if I get better at this. But if I get a better camera, I'll be forced to get better at this. See how that works. Anyways, all right. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.